Have you ever had that sensation in your youth that you wanted to prove yourself to the people around you? Of course, nobody is the same, but I certainly was the type of person to encounter such sensations. Some people bring that sensation beyond into their adulthood and prove their strength not just to the people around them, but to the whole world. However, the way that sensation has manifested for me was a bit different than one might expect. It was around the threshold between 2019 and 2020. I was at that time a dedicated Polaris user. Because of the playstyle that imposes, obviously I didn't necessarily have much of a personality. Since I regretted creating my reputation as a Pulsar spammer on SAR, and had thoughts that the name was unredeemable, I made a plan to begin again with a clean slate. So I created a new account that was to be played with a niche. For becoming better at the game and understanding its mechanics, my decision was to use weapons that deal just normal damage. This account became known as Zaurak, named after a star with a philosophical meaning I found interesting. At some point, at the beginning of my playthrough, I was in town square when the staff of Austria was recruiting new players, and a notification pops up in my mail, an invitation to join Austria. I've been in guilds before on my main account, like for instance the Circle of Magic or Imperial, although by that point Austria was unlike any guild I have ever seen before, as I was welcomed by a positive and fun environment made out of dozens of interesting people. Eventually I felt that sensation I described in the beginning of the video, and an idea popped into my head. Since I was farming a lot of crowns in SNARBOLAX, I asked myself, what if I amass 69 SNARBOLAX tokens as a joke? Of course I would post an image of it in the Austria Discord server to see how people would react. And so after a few hours I did exactly that. The reactions I've got out of the people were to be expected. A few lols, a few people saying nice. Not much, but it felt very fulfilling for me. So I thought that maybe this idea can be taken forward. So I went out of my way to take that number from 69 to 123 and so on. And only now people started asking themselves, why would one farm so much SNARBOLAX? You can just farm anything else. And the answer was clear from the very beginning. It was all for the memes. Now my objective was clear. To become recognized in the community, I had to become the greatest SNARBOLAX farmer of that time. So day and night, I was farming SNARBOLAX while setting meme numbers as milestones for myself, and all while using weapons that dealt only normal damage. While being at school, I would be calculating how many minutes do I have free of my time to spend them farming SNARBOLAX. I never felt so dedicated to an activity in my life before. Eventually, I figured out how to play Sparanites and farm while being at school on a phone, since you couldn't reliably have personal laptops at school in Romania at that time. As a result of this crazy amount of farming, I've gathered a reputation in Austria for being the insane SNARBOLAX farmer. At some point, I reached the rank of Vanguard and managed to become a veteran in the guild as well. Eventually, word about me spread outside of Austria also, which got me into contact with a knight known as Shanghai. It turned out that at that time we had a lot in common. He was known as the CEO of farming the Iron Claw Munitions Factory. He got to hear about me as a person that farms only SNARBOLAX and was interested in hearing more about my experiences. I showed him how I farmed SNARBOLAX and he showed me how he farms Romulus Twins. Eventually, he took the world record speedrun at that time for the Romulus Twins category. This speedrun was very inspiring for me, and it was so inspiring to the extent that eventually I should aim for the record set by Idiosyncrasies in speedrunning SNARBOLAX as well, since it was a bit old and I thought there was a lot of space for improvement. But besides that, through Shanghai, I had also the opportunity to meet some of the important people of the community at the time, who were, for example, Solotron, Madganser, Phoenix Maid, Bidonite, and most importantly, I think, Fire ND. Around the month of March in 2020, I began playing less on Zaurak, as I wanted to prepare myself for taking the world record speedrun in SNARBOLAX on my main account, SAR. As on Zaurak I was only able to use weapons that dealt only normal damage, which wouldn't be efficient, let's be honest, but I couldn't become inactive on Austria without a bang. So I added together some of the money I had from farming SNARBOLAX and created 100 spurs that I randomly added into the guild member storage of Austria. This in fact was when I made my first video on the channel, actually the first video that appears on the channel, called Giving My Guild 100 spurs for fun, I think. Now, Zaurak only has 2019 Frumios Fangs in its inventory. Ironically enough, it's the number of the year when all of this originally began. Now, as SAR, after gathering so much experience from using only weapons that dealt normal damage, the game became so much more easier as I gotten more weapons belonging to the meta. And eventually, after endless grinding, I had everything I needed to actually tie my personal record to the world record at that time. In that moment, I achieved my goals. I became the CEO of Farming SNARBOLAX, a Gloaming Wildwoods expert, but most importantly, a person with a niche in the community. My record was eventually beaten by Snarbocult, a close friend and a person I had speedrun alongside with.
Oh god! Do it, Tulu, do the thing!
Fuck it up.
No! Shoot! No!
Bro, how?
But after my time in the Gloaming Wildwoods, I moved on to facing new gargantuan goals. The story of my upbringing in the community is one in the middle of thousands. Maybe you have a story to tell that you would like me to share. In that case, what's your story? Leave a comment if you wish. I could even make videos on the stories that have a special uniqueness. Special thanks to Kiwi, Ape Trader and Elite Ace for their contribution to the channel through their donations. It truly means the world and it gives me another reason to get out of bed in the morning. If you wish to see more content, you could consider donating to my Ko-Fi. You can find the link down in the description. And with this, I'm done for now. Good luck out there.